Now, the next time that friendly bartender says, what do you have? Give him that answer the whole world gives. Have Blue Ribbon. Robinson emerging LaMotta. Emerging now. Let's go have seen in recent years. And so now we wait for the announcement, join with the radio audience throughout the world, and have a brief interview with Ray Robinson. Now we're waiting for the time.
Leave it in the ring.
Hey, how you doing, Eddie?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, brother. Hey, my first question is, the two people that have defeated Latimer have done it on aggression. Is that something that you guys have been working on? I know your defense is fantastic. You're a boxer, puncher. But at any point in the fight, do you plan on getting aggressive with him?
Yeah, I'm going to have to. There's going to be so many things I'm going to have to do to combat with his size and just, his pedigree of being a world champion. He's been a champion for years, and he's been on top for a reason. You know what I mean? That's because he's definitely good at what he does, and he's good at protecting it. So I'm going to have to find a way to kick the door in. So obviously there are times I'm going to have to pick up the aggression. There's also going to be times where I'm going to have to, sit back and wait for my turn. Not wait, but just wait for my turn to really pick up the aggressiveness. So it's a fight. It's a chess game. It's not checkers. You got to take your time and make the right decision at the right times, or it could be checkmate. And I don't want that.
Absolutely. And that being said, a lot of his opponents have been content of just being in the survivor mode, or they've concentrated a little bit more in the defense. What are some of the things that you guys have worked on, maybe for your trainer to kind of see that if you're going on just complete defense, to revive you to take a risk?
Well, it's head movement. You got to move your head off the line, and also what I think happened a lot with, if you look at the Chris Bird fights, and then you look at Sultan Ibragimov and different guys like that who were smaller but couldn't find a way in. It's really because they didn't really do anything on the outside. They honestly didn't use their legs much within the parameters of saying movement or moving around them, angles, just different looks. Give them different, feigning them, just doing things that fighters like old school fighters and even fighters nowadays use. They didn't really do that. If you look at the smaller weight divisions and see some of the things in their well-rounded game, there's a guy like myself who can bring that to the heavyweight division. I want to bring him something he hasn't seen or really hasn't dealt with in a long time or ever. You know what I mean? And just give him a different look, give him tons of different things to think about as I'm coming in and going out. Like I said, spinning around. I'm just doing so many different things. I want to be able to do those things, and I'm working on that, and I've planned on. We've talked about it, and try to work some kind of a plan defensively and offensively to get into the mind of Vladimir Klitschko.
The one thing that Chris Bird did, Chris Bird made good movements with his hands, and then he had pillows on his hands, so he was just touching and trying to keep his hands off you. But Chris Bird didn't move his feet a lot.
Right.
Chris Bird did not move his feet. He made a lot of feints and stuff like that, moving his head and moving his arms and stuff like that. We're talking about moving your... our plan is totally different. And then again, what Vladimir has to understand about this is this. Yes, we've had 35 fights, 36 fights, and yes, we've knocked out 18 of those guys. You understand me? So this is not a Chris Bird type situation.
Absolutely.
And he's seen enough film at the press conference. Manuel Stewart, who's a great trainer, you understand me, had, said that we've been studying Eddie. I look at film after film after film after film. And I look at film after film after film after film. And I watched the guys who fought him, and I watched the guys who he did well against. And the other thing that I look at in this fight with Klitschko is Vladimir Klitschko is not the same 23-year-old Vladimir Klitschko, the 24-year-old Vladimir Klitschko. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Vladimir Klitschko seems to be declining in some of the fights that he has. Whether they've been, maybe because of nutrition or whatever it is, maybe it's because of the injury he had 9 months ago. You understand me? And we know how that goes. You know what I mean? So therefore, there's, Yank Durham, the famous trainer, used to always tell me this. He used to always say, Rob, when you go in, he was training with Frazier against Ali, he said, you put it on a scale of 1 to 10 and weigh it. You understand me? You weigh it out and see which way it comes out. We've weighed this, and the scales are balancing in our favor.
In saying that with Vladimir Klitschko, I think if the decline has been the matchmaking, maybe a boardism. But let me ask you this, because you guys were talking a little while ago about his holding. And the one thing that I've noticed in that holding, though, it's kind of an effective holding where he's such a much bigger and he towers over his opponents. Are you guys going to be, is there going to be anything mentioned of how he puts his weight on possibly, if he gets close to Eddie, on putting his weight on his neck and on his back to take out his legs?
Well, we definitely need to talk about that at the the rules meeting and everything. But like you said, it is an effective weapon he can use. It's another weapon for him because of his size and weight and strength and the style that he fights. He keeps you on the outside, and then when you get close and you think you finally got something going, he holds you. So you're right, it's very effective.
It's an illegal weapon, though, Eddie.
It's definitely, we know that for sure. I mean, of course it is. We know that. But, I mean, it's effective. And if no one's going to say anything about it, as illegal as it may be, it's still it's legal to them. You know what I mean? They're allowing it. But that's why I say, instead of just coming in, moving your head without any punches, that leaves you vulnerable for that. If you're going to come in without punches, he has nothing to worry about. So he doesn't have to defend anything. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So, as soon as you come in, he's already holding. He's already in the process of grabbing you. You know what I mean? You have to find a way to make him respect punches, respect some kind of offense that you have going before you go in, before you get there. If you fight your way in, you're going to have ample opportunity to go to the body, to the head, when you get close enough inside those big arms.
I'll tell you one thing. Vladimir is very predictable. And that's why I go back to the fights of Abe Simon and especially Canero. Guys like that were over 75 years ago. They Lewis and fought these guys. Vladimir, if you look at him 100 times, if he throws a right hand 100 times, he'll never throw it unless he throws a jab. I've been watching him. I've never seen him throw a lead right hand. Ever. Never. You understand me?
Right.
And there's certain little things that we defend against when we get him in the position where we want him at. And that's not to be discussed now. That's to be seen. You'll see that. When we get him in a position where he wants, he will not be able to escape. He will not be able to escape, because when you try to counter at a guy, it's one thing to try and counter at a Ray Austin who's standing right there waiting for you to counter. It's another thing to counter at a guy like Abraham who's standing right there to wait for you to counter. And then there's another thing to counter Eddie when you're punching across your body. His arms will look like crisscross. You understand? Because you don't know who he is.
Right. Absolutely, brothers. Well, hey, the best of luck, Eddie, and thank you for taking the time to speak to me.
No, that's okay. Thank you.